Hey, what's up guys? In this video I want to show you a nice and easy way to touch up your renders inside of Photoshop. This isn't going to be a rendering tutorial. I will give you a quick overview of how I made this render just so you have some back-end understanding. So what I have here is a very simple scene. I have my actual crate. This is a game asset, by the way. I textured it all in Substance Painter, and I basically put a plane with some extruded walls beveled on the corners like that. And this has a dark metallic material with a pretty low roughness and essentially just an orthographic camera positioned at a decent angle like this. And I also have a small point lamp behind it, which basically gives it a bit more depth if you see the difference here. Anyways, I'm going to assume you've already made your render in Blender, and I want to show you some tricks that I use to make it pop a bit more in post-processing. Now, I'd really recommend using Photoshop, because Photoshop's just arguably the best on the market. There's Affinity Photo as well, GIMP. I just prefer Photoshop. Whatever you want to use is fine. You just have to use the corresponding tool in your software. So basically, this is the result after a bit of post. This took me about 20 minutes, and this is the before, and it just looks pretty awful in this manner. So basically what I do right off the bat is I open up my image that I rendered in Blender, and I press Control J, which will basically add a new layer, so that way I can work non-destructively and still have the space layer here. So what I did with that duplicate layer was if I turn it on, I first of all bumped the exposure a bit, and I also increased the clarity a bit as well. Let me move this up a bit so my face is not blocking too much. There we go. Yeah, I go into the Camera Raw filter up here, and I usually give these photos a bit more exposure. I also give it a bit of highlights or lack thereof if I need it. So for example, you could go in here and increase the exposure a bit. You could also adjust the highlights if you want to dim them, for example, whatever you need to do there. You can also bring out the shadows a bit more if that'll make the image look a bit nicer. It's all about kind of playing with these settings and seeing what looks good. So these are the main three settings I usually use. Sometimes you might have to use the black or white sliders, but not too much. And one of the most important ones you can use is clarity. Now, clarity is super useful because it makes the image, well, have more clarity. Now, you can do this to the entire image, or if you want to be a bit more precise, you can go here to the brush tool and essentially pump up the clarity on here and adjust the size of the brush and just kind of paint in clarity in areas that you think should have it. Like, for example, there's before and there's after. You could also give some clarity to the entire model here, before and after. It's very subtle, but it looks good, and you can also bump up the texture a bit as well if you wanted to, but in this case I'm going to leave it at 0. And that's basically all I did here for the duplicate layer. It took me, a minute or two to do. Really easy stuff, but makes a big difference. Now, the next thing you might want to generally do is add in a bit of color to the scene, make it pop a bit more that way. Now, you can do this using a color balance tool. If you go to adjustments and click on this, you can basically adjust the midtones, you can adjust your highlights. It's very simple stuff. You drag the slider and just kind of see what effects you want. Midtones and highlights are generally the only ones you would need to adjust. Just depends on the situation. And you can play with the highlights a bit that way. Nice and easy way to do it. Now, if you want to use something a bit more automated that's also a lot cleaner, you can use something like the Infinite Color plugin. It is a paid plugin. I use it a lot. I think it's worth it. If you have some money to spare, I would definitely recommend getting it. But you can just as easily use color balance and get similar effects that way. You can use color balance, a bit of curves if you wanted to, play with the curves and do whatever you want with that. All sorts of different ways you could use it, but Infinite Color basically combines all of these different adjustment effects and calculates something automatically, which is pretty cool. So that's what I tend to do after I play with the Camera Raw filter. I just do a bit of color balancing. And then what I did in this case after all of that is I painted out a bit of the blemishes and the scratches that I just think were a bit too overboard in my original texturing. So all I really did for this one was I used either the clone stamp tool, which basically you add a new layer, you alt click to sample from a certain area, then you can kind of come in here and paint out certain areas. So if I want to sample this gray color, for example, I alt click and then paint over here. Likewise, if I sampled from this white area, then I'm going to have this this basically cloning over here if you wanted something like that, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so that's what you can do with the clone stamp tool. You can also use the healing brush tool, which I happen to use here. There's a few more blemishes I think I need to kind of fix up in this area, because some of this is just a bit too obvious, I think. But I'll work on that a bit later. So yeah, that's one thing you can do, is you can kind of paint out blemishes, scratches, things that are just kind of annoying to look at. And also what I'd recommend doing is alt scrolling. Scroll out as far as you can and see what's pulling too much attention. Now in this case, I see a lot of attention being pulled to this little line here on the right, and this happens to be the handlebar on the side. So what I basically did was I added in a curves layer here. Actually, first I combined everything together with Control-Alt-Shift-E. That'll basically combine every layer below together into one. And I used a bit of curves with a mask on it to kind of dim out the handle. See the difference? Here's before and here's after. It's very subtle, but it makes this a bit less attention pulling. And these are the type of things that are good to look for. So you can use curves for that one. You can drop a layer mask on it. Basically, you use, like, I don't know, the marquee tool, box out this area, and then what you could do is just add a mask basically and only affect this area and just dim it that way. So you can dim it by all sorts of different ways. You could dim it camera raw filter, you could dim it with some more black colors, whatever you need to do to make it dimmer. That is how you can do it. And then basically after you make all of these minor adjustments, you can get into the more major stuff like text and branding, whatever you want to do. So what I did was I added in a bit of text here with some of the information about this game asset. For example, the triangle count, the polytype, in this case 1 segment bevel, and I also added in game ready to indicate this is a game ready model. And of course I have the Blender Bros logo up here. You could put in your name or your brand with some text. And basically for this part, I just kind of go through different fonts I've collected over the time. You can go to like all sorts of different font websites and download some. So I usually just go through here and I scroll through and I see, for example, what font looks decent here. And in this case, I found that this Auramac font, if that's how you pronounce it, looks pretty good. So you can use that and make the font kind of match the feeling of your scene a bit more. And then what you can do is basically add in a new layer and add in a bit of Pro Contrast. That's a plugin from the Nik collection, but if you don't have this plugin, you could just as easily go in here and introduce a bit of local contrast. So basically you would bring this area up and this area down to kind of play with the local contrast that way. A few different things you can do. There's never like a one and only solution. It's just kind of what you prefer. And that's one way you could kind of go in and add in a bit of contrast. I'm just using the Nik collection because it's a bit more automated. And yeah, that's the main set of tools I use to kind of touch up my renders. I'd also recommend adding in a bit of noise to your scene, because noise not only introduces a bit more depth to your scene, it also gives that subsurface effect on the surface of the model, which is so important to kind of give more of a 3D feel to it. So usually what I do is I go up here to the camera raw filter and I go down here to effects and essentially increase grain if I want to add in some more grain. Now don't go overboard. I mean, this looks awful. We're not rendering at 2 samples, right? Just give a little bit of grain, just a tiny bit. It might even be a good idea to make your sample count a bit lower in Blender to intentionally give more grain to the scene, because grain's actually, contrary to popular belief, quite good for detail. So you can add in some grain like that. I've already done it. And you can also introduce a bit of vignetting, which is basically that nice oval shape you get around photos. So you could make the vignette like this if you want to make it, I don't know, bright on the sides. I don't prefer that. And if you go to the negatives, you can make it darker on the sides and give some vignette that way, which I've already done as well. So that's basically a rundown of different ways you can post-process your photos. And hopefully you see why this is crucial for your renders, because this is the before and this is the after, and I guarantee anyone you ask is not going to like this one as much as this one. This one just has a lot more detail and looks more naturally pleasing to the eye, and this is what you want to put on your portfolio, share to your friends, share on social media. You never want to upload raw renders from Blender. That's what a mistake I used to make years ago, was not doing any touch-ups to my photos, and it's just a terrible idea to do that. So make sure Once you're done rendering, you bring it into some sort of image manipulation software. You can get Photoshop for, there's a free trial, it's like $10 a month if you get the standalone version. Photoshop is not hard to access, so whatever you need to do, get in here, post-process your images. You're not going to regret it. It's going to be super useful for your portfolio and make your images look a lot more professional and presentable. So I hope the video helped, gave you some insight into how I approach these types of renders and how I would recommend improving yours. So thanks a bunch for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.